Welcome to Brighter Tomorrows, a program from Mountain Laurel Integrated Healthcare, your first choice for health and hope.
Welcome once again to today's program. And before we get started, I wanted to remind you that today's show is the final episode of a 3-part interview we did with Mountain Laurel Integrated Healthcare's CEO, Donna Cooke. I hope you enjoy. One of the things that's interesting to me is the advent of nurse practitioners now and this is a national thing that we're seeing more and more, that nurse practitioners are really stepping up and taking a bigger role in healthcare.
Yeah, and that's another one of those thoughts that I don't like to think about if we didn't have them right now. And particularly during the pandemic, we really needed them. And what the research shows is, when it comes to primary care and things, there's not a whole lot of difference between those providers and a physician. That's not to say we don't need physicians. I don't want anybody to misconstrue that, because we do. For our staff, we have different physicians that we work with on a consulting basis, so that anything that they ran into at any point of the day of week, it doesn't matter. They can call one of those physicians and go through that case with them. And I think it's really important that you have that support for them. But the level of care is great. It feels a huge need. I'm really happy that legally, among most of the states now, your nurse practitioners and physician assistants can practice independently. I think after 3 years of practicing under a physician. So that has filled a void that we absolutely, as a nation, could not cope with.
I agree.
Right now, if we didn't have them. And now what we're seeing is that they are specializing and doing more things, and that's great. But again, I think medical school is still medical school, and you need that level of expertise available to you. And I see that as a role for a lot of physicians, that they will serve in consulting capacities as the years move forward, and the younger generation may choose a different career path than medicine. You're still going to need the expertise of those physicians. So I see that as being an add-on to their career.
So one of the questions I have for you is, do you sit around and you're thinking, what are we not doing that we could be doing? Because there's not much left. We talked about this. There's not much left. And then all of a sudden, boom, you get something new. Yeah.
We talked about that, and then chiropractic.
Oh, you'd be surprised how many things we've got left to do. Not only service-wise, but area-wise. We need to expand and get into some other areas that need services. One of the things that I've been looking at and thinking about are mobile services. We saw a lot of mobile clinics. Agencies got those during the pandemic with certain funding and things. The challenge for anything right now is staffing. The nursing shortage that we have a shortage with RNs, LPNs, medical assistants, licensed professional counselors, the nurse practitioners, the physician assistants. There's just shortages across the board. So that's an area that you have to be careful because of the cost of a mobile unit. You're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you sure don't want to invest in something like that and not be able to staff it. From the numbers that I've crunched, a mobile unit would need to be on the road at least 4 days a week to recoup your investment and your staffing cost and everything. A lot of people don't want to be in a different area every day that they do a job. A nurse, I want to go to this location. I want to know what to expect. There's still a lot of challenges in mobile services. For one thing is just your lack of communication. You're in a lot of areas where there is no cell phone service, and you don't know what cases you're going to be seeing and that it is urgent, and the liability. A lot of providers are concerned about that. You know, what is my liability as a professional if a person comes into the mobile clinic, they need urgent care right then, and I can't access it. We don't like to think that that happens, but it does. So that's definitely a concern as far as staffing challenges and things like that. That would be, from my point of view, that would be an efficient way of doing it, but I don't know that that's a feasible way of doing it yet. We're still getting used to the country and to telehealth. We were doing telehealth long before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. And we had to out of necessity. So that's still something that we're looking at expanding, but using telehealth capabilities and things like that. But I can say that the pharmacy, us bringing the pharmacy in-house, was a dream come true that we realized in August of this year. Patrick Duty he's Superman. And he brought all that together. He came on board a few months before that. We had gotten grant funding to do that, and he has just done a tremendous job. Genoa Pharmacy, they were our partners for several years, served us well, but they specialize in behavioral health agencies, and now we're integrated care. Mm-hmm. So we had to rise to that occasion as well. So Patrick has done a phenomenal job. The grant that we got for the pharmacy, we did an application and we scored like a 97 or 98% wow. on our application.
Can anybody say overachiever?
But we weren't funded. Oh, we didn't get funded for it.
Wow.
So again, I get on the keyboard.
Yeah, I told you.
And I contacted the project manager for that funding announcement. And I basically said, what does it take? We put a lot of time and effort and resources into an application that scored 97 and we didn't get funded. You know, what does it take 101%? I didn't say that. I was thinking that. But I really wanted to know, what did it take? And she wrote back and said that it was just a lack of funding. They only had X number of dollars, and of course they were overwhelmed with a lot of applications. So it went on about a month, and all of a sudden I get an email and she said, guess what? You've been funded. So again, the Lord intervened on our behalf. I guess some people who thought they were getting funding decided not to take it. I don't know how that all worked out. The Lord knows all about it, but that gave us our money to move it forward. And, you know, the inventory is enormously expensive in a pharmacy, your staffing cost and everything. So
with having you here, we could speculate a whole lot, but with you here, what's some of the things that you're thinking of or you would love to see in the coming year?
Well, I definitely want us to continue to build out partnerships and have some specialized medical care, probably through telehealth and things like that, and move into some other areas that are not served. But my big, lofty goal, I want us to have a daycare.
Oh.
Yeah.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow, that's awesome.
And, you know, we have a lot of grandparents that are serving as parents, and in some cases, great-grandparents.
Yeah.
And taking on children or a child, it's very confusing for us grandparents. And so what do we do? What do? They tend to neglect their own primary care. Mm. So if we have a very public, very transparent daycare at our centers where parents, grandparents can drop a child off while they have their appointment and even under other circumstances, and it be an option for our employees who have children. They can, have daycare there, or we might be the backup to their, maybe grandma keeps the child for the employee, but wants to go on a cruise or something.
Yeah.
So for that week, we take care of
Almost
the child.
like a respite in a sense.
Absolutely, yes. And have some that would come every day, but not have to have that commitment out of everybody. I definitely understand when you're running a daycare, the need to know, who's going to be showing up for the party every day. But we're in a unique position. Our biggest challenge is space right now. So I'm looking for ways for us to increase our space. That's on the radar for this upcoming calendar year. But daycare that's a passion for me.
That's amazing. And it's smart is what it is. I mean, it really, really, truly is smart. All right. So before we let you go, I want to ask you, is there anything that you want to add? Anything that you want to say before we?
One of the things that I wanted to point out is that we're a safety net provider on both sides of the house, on the community mental health center side and the FQHC lookalike side. So we're not going to turn anybody away from care. We provide that sliding discount fee scale so that for most folks who qualify for that, they're just paying a very nominal fee for that.
And that's for
on
every
both,
service.
Every service.
Yeah.
Yes. Looks a little different for dental than what it does primary care, but dental's more expensive. Pharmacy will probably look a little different than that when the dust settles and all. But that's something that people need to keep in mind. Also, that we're a 340B pharmacy, and that means that drugs that are very expensive, usually they're brand name drugs, the 340B designation allows us to buy them cheaper. The manufacturer has to sell them to a 340B pharmacy cheaper, and we want to be able to pass that savings on, especially to the people on sliding fee scale and that don't have insurance, that sure. need those medications. The 340B pricing has nothing to do with income or anything like that. So it can be pennies on the milligram from what some people are used to paying. Yeah. Now, you do have to be a Mountain Laurel patient.
Which is easy.
Yes, that's easy.
Right?
Just show up.
Right.
You don't even have to have an appointment.
Right.
Walk in.
That's what I'm saying. That's the easiest.
Get in your car and drive, or call us and we'll come pick you up.
Yeah, we have transportation too.
Yeah.
So there's no more excuses to live in poor health.
Yeah.
Unless you just want to. That's the only reason. I want to talk just a little bit about my original vision. My original vision was to be a one-stop shop. Make it convenient for the patient. I'm the world's worst with appointments. I don't like them. I put them off. I cancel. I reschedule. I'm horrible. But if I can go and take care of a couple things at one time, I'm more likely to follow through with it. But one of the other things that I said when I got here was that we would be a paperless agency. And folks looked at me.
They thought you were crazy.
Yes. And I don't blame them. And now we're almost paperless with all the electronic systems and things that we put into place, because we were really running out of places to store all that paper. So everything that we do, every program, every process, workflow, I'm always asking, how can we do this electronically, and get rid of the paper?
Because I don't think a lot of people understand that the paperwork alone on your side, you guys have to keep paperwork for X amount of years.
Yes.
And so that's
storage. I think
storage.
It's 10 years. I'm not quite for sure.
Most places, it's 7 to 10 years. I know in broadcasting, it's 7 years. I'm sure in medical field and so forth, it's a lot more than that.
And with children, it's so many years after they're 21.
Oh.
Or in some cases, 18. But yeah.
So that could be 20 years or more or so.
Yeah.
This program, the whole thing about getting you here, Donna, and I said at the beginning of the show, we wanted people to see your heart, to see who you are and where this all came from, the vision all came from. And I know that there's a special story about where this was all planted in your heart. And could you share with us that story?
You know, I was here at the agency from 2004 to 2007, and I left in 2007 for another position. And in September of 2012, I was fired. I was abruptly fired from my job for making a CPS report, which to me, you know, I'm a licensed professional mandated reporter. So it wasn't even open for discussion. So I started on that journey, and God just placed in my spirit it would be 6 months. Well, I definitely didn't want to hear that. I had a mortgage, and I'm single, and, you know, it was very overwhelming time. And I would apply for jobs, honestly, that I should have had a waitressing job and wouldn't even get an interview. And finally I said, Lord, okay, I get it. It's time for me to admit that I know what you've told me. So in November of that year, Michelle Evans, who I'd worked with at Chatteroy, the Chatteroy office, she was director over there at the time. She and her mother came over to the Southridge area where I was living at the time to do some Christmas shopping. And I don't know that they've ever went Christmas shopping like that again on a Sunday. And she had never been to my house, and she's never been back to my house since that day. And she's just a dear, dear lady. And she prophesied. She prayed over me and prophesied over me that I would move into this job. And I said, oh, no, I don't want that job. The Lord's got a sense of humor. You know,
He does. He does.
So the agency lost the long-time, well-loved Bob Mays. I can't say enough about Bob and the impact that he had on the community and the loss. And then, of course, the search committee put it out, and here I am. So Michelle and I often talk about that her mother called that,
yes.
right? As they were leaving my house, we were standing at the door. I was showing them out, and that's when she said that. And I will never forget that. She and her husband they're prayer warriors, and they've held this agency up and me up in prayer over the last 11 years. So
So it's no wonder where we are where we are.
No, none at all.
It's by God's design.
I know that this is where God put me. I know.
Absolutely.
I know. There were 23 applicants for the job, and I think everybody got a phone interview, and then we had a interview in front of the personnel committee, the committee that they had put together. And there were 4 of us, me and 3 men. And and I was the first one to interview. They didn't need to take me on a tour of the agency. You know, I'd been here years before that. But I was told that they weren't going to make a decision before that board meeting. It would be the following month. So the week goes on, and I'm hearing that they are going to make the decision that Thursday. I think my interview was on Monday, and I was the first one. So the week passes by, and I don't get a phone call. And Thursday comes around, and I don't get a phone call. But that morning, I felt in my spirit, get ready. Get up and get ready. You're going to be going to that interview. So I get up, I take a shower, do my hair, makeup. I have what I'm wearing hanging out there, and it gets later and later and later in the afternoon, and I don't get a phone call. And one of the board members was discovered that I wasn't coming to the dinner that evening. And they got in touch with Roger Bryant, who was the president of the board at the time. And Roger said, yeah, you're supposed to be there. And I said, well, nobody's called. And he said, can you be there? I said, yeah, I can be there. I mean, it was 5 o'clock then, or going on it. And I was in Charleston. And it started at 6:30 at 3 Mile Curve. So who jumps in that suit and, but I was ready to go. And when I get to 3 Mile, well, Roger called me again before I got to 3 Mile, and he said, Donna. And I said, yeah. And he said, Donna Cooke with the red hair? And I said, yes. He said, are you coming for the interview? And I said, I am. And he said, well, there's another Donna here. And somehow they had contacted the wrong Donna. She had not had a face-to-face interview. And somehow that number got switched with Donna Cooke. So it was a bit awkward for some of the board members because they had to, it was March, it was raining, it was cold, and they sent her flowers and a gas card for her trouble because she drove from Huntington. But when they did my interview, the personnel committee, they said, you'll be asked to put together a presentation on some, whatever, just to show some of your skills. That's what I had done in another job. And I just got my PowerPoint ready and all that and printed the copies off. And somehow or another that didn't get communicated to the other 2 candidates because 3 of the 4 of us were going to be going to that dinner. And I was the only one that had a presentation. So several of the board members commented and said, that presentation was just awesome. You were ready to go. And I'm sure some of them probably thought I did that on my own, not knowing that, I was told to be prepared for that, by the personnel committee. But it was just the way God worked things out.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's program, the 3rd and final episode of a 3-part interview we did with Mountain Laurel Integrated Healthcare's CEO, Donna Cooke. In the meantime, stay where you are. We'll be back to wrap things up right after this. The Assertive Community Treatment Program is an inclusive array of community-based mental health services at Mountain Laurel Integrated Healthcare.
Hi, I'm Haley Newsom, licensed professional counselor and program manager of the Assertive Community Treatment Team. We're an intensive outpatient program that has a team of behavioral health professionals that help work with you to achieve your goals.
Call 304-792-7130.
Mountain Laurel Integrated Healthcare, where change begins.
I'm Patrick Duty, pharmacist with Mountain Laurel Integrated Healthcare. We are excited to now offer enhanced services through our brand new in-house pharmacy. We don't just fill your prescriptions, we also offer comprehensive medication management, immunizations, eligibility assistance, benefits counseling, as well as close communication with you and your medical providers.
Call 304-792-7130, extension 1070.
Mountain Laurel Integrated Healthcare, where change begins.
Hi, I'm Whitney Miller, family nurse practitioner at Mountain Laurel Integrated Healthcare. I have long had a heart for serving others since I was little and have always wanted to provide care to people in our community.
To find the location nearest you, visit www.mlih.org or call 304-792-7130.
Mountain Laurel Integrated Healthcare, where change begins.
Welcome back to Brighter Tomorrows, a program from Mountain Laurel Integrated Healthcare, your first choice for health and hope.
Well, that's going to wrap things up for today's program. For more information about Mountain Laurel Integrated Healthcare, visit their website at www.mlih.org. Thanks for listening.